Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Loremaster's Lair. I'm the Laughing Salesman, here stopping by for another discussion on a topic from the travel guide. Today, we are stopping to take a quick look towards one of the basic concepts of the world. Time. Calendar, timekeeping devices, and how each ancestry keeps their time. The cards load up, so let's take a look inside. Well, I really want to talk on timepieces and such today. Let's start with the basics. The Inner Sea region has a 12-month year with a 7-day week. There's no plan like it. Starting with the week, Moon Day is a day for work, but also the day of worship of moon and night deities like Desna. Toil Day is said to be the day one should work for themselves, and Well Day, the day they work for others. Oath Day is a day said to be the best to make contracts and promises, and Fire Day, now that's a good day to fight. Star Day is where any unfinished business is completed before the next week begins, and Sunday is a day for rest and many religious observances. As for the 12 months of the year, they each have two names, one after a deity and one more secular. The first month is named after the one who brought civilization and indirectly/directly the calendar, Amadeus, also known as Prima. The second, Callistril, the cold month requiring patience to survive, is also known as Snap. As spring dawns, Farast or Anu begins. And as the spring weather begins to rage, that is when we have Gazran or Rusan. At the end of the rainy season, the calm month of Desnus or Forlong is often considered an excellent month to travel. The month with the summer solstice is named Serenith or Sola. The month of Aristus, also known as Fletch, is when fields begin to bear fruit, and continues to bloom in the month of Eridus, also known as Hazen. The 9th month of harvest is named Rover, common name Nuval, potentially as a warning of the coming of winter soon approaching. I'm not really surprised that the dwarfs are not a fan of this name and prefer to call the month Torosh. Rover gives way to Lamashin, or Shaldo, as the days grow short. But right after comes Neth, or Joya, days to spend close to your loved ones even while the outside becomes cold. And finally, the winter solstice comes in Kuthana, also known as Kai. Of course, the above calendar came about over many arguments. First, there was the 3-day argument, which argued whether the leap day happened every 4 years or every 8 years. This order of the argument was for, so you people from the distant planet of Earth will be happy to know the time is synchronized. There's also the 5-Well-Day War, which happened when merchants exchanged days on the calendar to the point where riots happened, and a single standard calendar for all of Absalom trading was demanded, which brought about the results above. There are also several other calendars from around the world. The Imperial Calendar of Tianxi, Casmoran Unified Calendar, the Tombe's Light from Garund, the Long Night Calendar from Arcadia, and the Steps of Time from the Crown of the World. However, trade between the continents have standardized the lengths, with the number of the year being the main difference. And maybe the names of the months. That's something you might have to see when we get to Tianxi books this coming year. And as usual, The coordinate of Salesman is a complete unknown, which includes its own calendar. Maybe one day we get information, but today is not that day. But of course, other ancestries have their own way of judging time. Elves who live for a long time do not measure time in years, but what they call phases, which last between 20 to 26 years. While one physically matures in a phase, they are not considered mature mentally until going through 4 phases. Dwarves live through forge days, based on the time it takes for a forge to warm and cool. This leads to 12 hours sleep and 20 hours of work, though dwarves who now live on the surface have adopted 24-hour days in the last few millennia. Orcs, the old enemies of dwarves, have the opposite: 12 hours of fighting and 20 hours to sleep or train. Halflings do not have any unusual methods of timekeeping, but them being halflings, they have clever turns of phrases that often use time as a basis. Gnomes judge time not just by its length, but also its color. A blue hour lasting as much as 4 hours, and a red hour taking only a few minutes. And finally, goblins use songs as methods to keep time, which may sound inaccurate, but spend enough time around goblins and you see how precise a method it actually is. Now, with the basics out of the way, let's talk through calendars and timekeepers, one by one. That's why I'm here after all, though this week's items are a bit cheaper than my usual spread. First, let's look at pocket scribes. Everyone has one, a thin book which keeps a calendar for the entire year, and is especially common with those who keep records for a living. Some of the earliest clocks were what are known as perseverance clocks. These are basic sundials, but with a person volunteering to meditate in the center as the timepiece. There are also legends of some dying during this time, their bones becoming permanent fixtures of these clocks, but haven't seen one myself. Another simplistic clock is a drip clock. It works by attaching a barrel full of water to a pipe which would drip the water into a case, which is marked by how many months it should take for the water to reach a certain point. Afterwards, the water is drained into the local well, so known as wasted, but I don't know myself. It just seems like one part rusts internally and the timekeeping device will be thrown off. Plus, too sedentary for a traveler like me, but hey, to each their own. With basic timekeeping out of the way, let's look at some novelties. First, this box, which contains a system for the Absalom time exchange system, which contains as much as 50 different calendars, which, before the modern calendar, was used to exchange between merchants of different cultures while they were in Absalom. Of course, after the War of 5 World Days, this eventually resulted in all these old calendars being abolished, but still a collector's piece. Then, going back to what we learned about gnomes, we have soul sand timers. Unfortunately, I don't have a hourglass, but when this hourglass is turned over, it not only has the sand run down, but also changes the sand's color, matching what gnome judgment of time it is, whatever all the colors mean. Now, some even more interesting timepieces. First, we have what is known as an infinity clock. These clocks are made of any material, whether it be wood, stone, or metal. However, they are created from one continuous piece of the material. More eccentricity than anything, these clocks have many clockmakers compete against each other by making these as complex as possible. Then, We have Cinderella's Climb, which I don't have a plan either, which are plants which spend 25 hours growing and then retreat to regrow again starting at midnight, allowing one to judge the time based on how tall the vines are. Though, not sure if they've been tested about how much water each one grows, but something to look at later. Another calendar, we have Gilded Days. These are boxes put out by guilds offering a surplus of a single item for every day of the year. Some guild members spend their entire lives working to collect each of these items, as gaudy and unnecessary as some of them are, but hey, loyalty to the company. And the last one to talk about are the Rings of Time. It is said these rings can track everything from the moon phases and animal migrations, and use it in order to predict weather and revolutions. I've never had much success with these things myself, but hey, if you want to try them out yourself, go right on ahead. And that brings an end to today's video. Next week, the Loremaster will be back to talk to you all about the Pathfinders, or at least part of Pathfinders. That is one organization which is going to need multiple videos. But as for me, my car is empty, so I'm heading out. I'll see you all next time I come around.